Hello. How is everybody today? Thanks for joining me. My name is Cindy Dean. If you don't know who I am, this is my music page, Cindy Dean Music. We're here on Horn Talk, tips, tricks, licks. And today we're talking about mouthpieces and investing in a mouthpiece, particularly if you are a beginner. Now, if you're just joining us and you haven't, I'm using StreamYard. So what you need to do is go to streamyard.com/Facebook. In order for me to see your comments, you're just giving them permission that you can comment. Pretty simple. That's about all that is. So today we're talking about mouthpieces. I realize that a lot of times parents, they have a son or daughter joins band. You don't know if they're going to want to stick with it. So oftentimes they use school instruments or possibly rental instruments. So if you're renting or borrowing a school instrument, that's quite common. The one thing you can invest in, however, is a mouthpiece. Any proper mouthpiece. And that could be just about for any instrument, not specifically for horn. But we're talking a little bit more about horn today, but this really applies to any brass or wind instrument. It's helpful to be able to buy your own mouthpiece. Now, particularly for horn and brass instruments. So I'm going to give you a couple reasons on why investing in a mouthpiece is a good idea. Now, I know you might not feel like you want to invest money if your child is brand new to playing, because obviously that's why you're borrowing an instrument. So some of the reasons go over why it's still a good idea to do that, to spend some money, why it's going to help your child. And then in the end, I just want to let you know that if you want suggestions for buying a mouthpiece, I just want you to do #mouthpiece in the comments down below, and I can contact you with more information. We can do maybe a 10-minute video chat. I can help give you some information about choosing one that might be right for your son or daughter, because it's not an one size fits all thing. So let's get started. So if you're here watching on the live, thank you so much. Good to see you. I appreciate you joining. Feel free to subscribe for notifications. It also helps if you show that you like this, that you are getting good information. Maybe you want to sprinkle this among your friends that might find this valuable. So all that said, we're going to get started. While there is not a one size fits all, there are some different brands that have standardized mouthpieces. So when you are a beginner and you haven't played quite as long, it's worth getting something that's going to work relatively well, even if it's just temporarily. Now, part of the reason that you want to get your own mouthpiece is because, if you are renting or borrowing an instrument, that doesn't mean that necessarily when you return that at the end of the school year, you're going to have the same instrument and the same mouthpiece next year. And that can really affect how you play. So if you're not, and how easy it is. So ease of playing. So if you're not going to have the same instrument, one thing you can control is that you have the same mouthpiece. And this really affects the success of the student. Now, another thing is, not all mouthpieces are created equal. And some mouthpieces that come with the horn aren't really the best mouthpieces. And they might not be even good quality mouthpieces, they're also not necessarily going to be the best mouthpiece for you. And just like it's preference somewhat, everybody's mouth and lips are a different shape. So that might mean that one person needs a deeper cup. One person might need a different kind of rim to be comfortable to play, and it has to do with teeth and mouth and thin and thick lips and a variable of things. And if you can at least be consistent with the mouthpiece that you're playing on, that'll at least help if you're changing horns before maybe you want to invest in buying one. So with that being said, it's good to get help when you are looking at mouthpieces. But let's just talk about a couple of the things regarding mouthpieces. If you're playing on some of the, I was going to say some of the older standard mouthpieces, the quality of manufacturing back there wasn't as good as it is now, and they're not all equal. And there's some new brands out that I don't care for. They're made very cheaply. They use the material they use is quite cheap, and the ability for you to center pitches and just play well on them and in tune is really not there. So that's part of playing on a decent mouthpiece, is if you have a good quality one that's made well. It's easier to play things. It's easier to center pitches. It's easier to play in tune. It's easier to have endurance if you have one that's appropriate for you. It's easier. So one of the things you want to look at when you're trying them is, can you play different types of styles easily? Can you play soft lyrical passages, slurs, play your harmonic series easily, go between notes, focus on connecting them? Can you play loud? Can you play louder? Can you play articulated passages? Can you play passages that go from the lower range and the middle C and up into the upper register? Can you do that fairly easily? Can you play with your tuner and play in tune? These are all questions that you can ask when you or your son or daughter or colleague or student is trying out a mouthpiece. They want to be able to do all these things. How does the note speak? Have somebody else listen to you. So this is where you need to get help if you can. Nowadays, it might not be possible to go into a store to try them out. Some stores, yes. Some stores allow you to buy on a credit card a couple mouthpieces. They'll send them to you, or you pick them up. You can try them out, return what you're not going to get and what you don't want if you can't go into the store. It might be, if you can't have a teacher go meet you there, it might be you do this online, like a lot of lessons are being done. But listening, go in the best room that you can. So it might be more difficult nowadays because maybe you're not in your band room, your orchestra rehearsal hall, that kind of thing right now. It's still helpful to get feedback, even if it's online, even if it can't be in person, because other people will hear the differences in your playing more than you will. And it might be that you want to record yourself and listen back. That's another way to do it, but still getting feedback is helpful. So in essence, the cheaper the material and the cheaper made it is, it still might be an okay mouthpiece. It's just not going to be as good. And I've heard the differences because I've had students using some very terrible mouthpieces. And the minute they got a nicer, decent mouthpiece that works for them. Just the sound and the intonation improved drastically, and their ability to do things on it. So making a little bit of an investment in one is worthwhile. And there's different things in the mouthpiece that you look at. There's the rim and the cup shape, the diameter of the mouthpiece, the different things, the diameter, how wide it is, and that has more to do with like the thickness of your lips. A flatter rim, you might have more flexibility, but a rounder rim might give you more endurance. There's one mouthpiece that I recently heard about that helps with like braces. Someone was mentioning a Neil Sanders rim. I hadn't been aware of that. I didn't use it. I've had braces. I've had students just be successful on what they're doing, but with what they're using. But a round contour rim, it helps with flexibility and medium endurance. A flat rim that's wider, it might help with comfort or certain types of teeth. So an oval rim's kind of more general purpose. It can offer flexibility, endurance, clarity of attack. There's different things. Different people have different preferences. So that's why trying one out and having somebody listen to you is key. Now, as far as brands, there's a lot of custom ones that are a little bit more expensive. But if you want to just start with some of the more basic ones, I've got a few suggestions. Now, if you're tuning in, thanks for joining me. Nice to see you. Let me know that you're here. Comment below or put a little emoji below saying that you stopped by. We have some information that I can help and share. If you're interested, feel free to comment below with the hashtag mouthpiece, and I can get you some more detailed information fit for you. You can schedule a complimentary 10-minute video chat. So in any event, some of the ones that I recommend. Now, everybody has a personal preference, and somebody else might disagree with me. And this also depends on what works for them. But there's more than one option. So one of the first mouthpieces I use, now I don't have extremely thin lips. They're not maybe the thickest. I would just say medium, but it's, like everybody's different. And I was able to use a Farkas Holt mouthpiece. Now I used when I first started a long time, a medium deep cup. Some people might not need the deep cup. They might prefer the more shallow medium cup. That's a very standard mouthpiece. They have some other ones besides that. A lot of horns, especially the Yamahas, they come commonly with the 30C4 mouthpiece. It's pretty small. It might work for some people, but they have other sizes that are larger that would be probably more preferable. And you can try those out, and you can look at what would be appropriate for you. There are quite a few people that prefer the Stork mouthpieces, and the C models, from what I understand, are pretty standard. I don't know as much about those, but I know that they're good. And there was even another one mentioned, Hauser mouthpiece. I know there's a San Francisco model that I think it's like a John Ring model. And that one I haven't used. I've used Moosewood mouthpieces, different kinds. He's a custom one. I used Tom Greer used to make those. I have some Patterson mouthpieces. I've used ones that have screw-on rims, so I could keep the rim and change the mouthpiece. Those are more expensive. You don't have to get those. As a more beginning intermediate student, you don't necessarily need to spend that much. But a decent sized investment is worth a lot. And if you're going to bother allowing them to start lessons, the most successful way, if you can't invest in your own instrument, would be to invest in a mouthpiece appropriate for them, to find higher success in what they're able to do individually and in ensemble playing. And this has to do with technical ability and ability to play in tune. And if you're switching your mouthpiece and your horn every year that you go back to school, or even a different one during the summer, say you have to rent one that's different than what you played on at school, it's going to change everything, and it's going to feel to them like they can't play, and it'll feel like they're starting over again. So as much consistency as you can allow them to have by just spending under $100, you don't have to buy the most expensive custom mouthpieces. You can spend between $40 and $100 on a mouthpiece that will benefit them, that will bring them consistency and more ability in their playing, that will make them feel like they can be more successful and play well. And that's really what it is. You want them to enjoy the instrument, to enjoy the experience, and to be successful. And so that's really what it's about. So I am going to just give you a brief, speedy recap. And before I do that, I'm just going to say thank you if you're stopping in. If you came by, hello, let me know below. Drop a picture or say hello. Let me know that you were here. If you think this is valuable information, I appreciate the love, the likes, sprinkling this amongst people you think might think it's valuable. Other parents with young musicians, other teachers, other musicians. So here we go. So if you have a student, a son or a daughter that is a new player particularly, or maybe not a new player, but you don't own your own instrument, and maybe you're renting or borrowing it, then one thing you can do is invest in buying your own mouthpiece. Now, some reasons for that is to give them the ability to be more consistent and feel like they can play well, because you're not now changing the mouthpiece every year. You get a new band or orchestra rent instrument from school or a rental instrument from the store. You are now being consistent, and you are allowing them to have the same mouthpiece every year. You're also allowing them to have a good quality one that may or may not come with the horn that you're borrowing or renting. In addition to that, you can then pick out one that you own that is appropriate for the individual, that will help them in their success. And generally speaking, give them the ability to not only play better, but play in tune. And as you build ability, flexibility, technique, that all goes hand in hand in intonation as well. So those basic things breed more success and more interest and more fun playing. So spending between $40 and $100 on one mouthpiece for success and possibility of them to keep playing for much longer without having to immediately invest in buying the instrument. It's still very worthwhile. If you want suggestions where you can purchase a proper mouthpiece or a proper one for you, your student, your son or daughter, comment below #mouthpiece. I can get in touch with you then. If you want, I can just give you some basic information if you would like to have a 10-minute complimentary video chat with me to go over some more details. We can also do that. So that's about it. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Just let me know. And then also feel free to please sign up for notifications to next time I go live. I'm going to be going live on Fridays. I've changed the time now and again. It's going to be at 1 o'clock. But this coming week is may or may not be available for the regular time. I am likely going to schedule a Wednesday time. So stay tuned, but normally Fridays at 1 every week. So thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate your time and you listening. Comment below if you are interested. #mouthpiece. Let me know if you have any other questions of anything I did not cover. I'm happy to get back and answer those, even if you're watching on the replay. And appreciate your time. You're sprinkling your likes and hearts and around so that the Book of the Faces and things like that will allow more people to view this and to get some information. So have a wonderful week. I hope you have a fabulous day. Practice your instrument or listen to beautiful music. Bye.